doesn't want to go exactly how I want it.
Yes, sir.
Um, but yeah, appreciate that.
No
But
problem.
everybody, we are back. We're moving the X Men '97 reviews to Thursdays. Thursdays now. Everybody, check it out. But the boys from the West Coast Pop bringing you another X Men '97 review, the X Men podcast, X Men, if you will. We're here. Main man Zach, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. This was a good Saturday morning cartoon kind of episode, so I'm ready to talk about it.
It really was. It did it. They did the thing. We're gonna get into it, man, with all the Easter egg breakdown, our personal reviews, and some things you might have missed. Checking it out now. But first, you know that Many Men intro.
Previously on X-Men.
Never gets old, man. X Men '97, episode 4. We shifted the focus from the entire team to Jubilee and my boy Roberto Sunspot. He's getting over his trying to still hide as a mutant type thing, and we're seeing some more personality from Jubilee. It is her 18th birthday, Zach.
That it is. I'm not going to make any references to anything.
I was not trying to set you up for anything like that.
All right. I was like, I don't know how to respond to this. It is, and it's a good thing because there are a lot of callbacks to the very first episode of X-Men, the animated series, especially with talk about going to an arcade where she was first featured in the show. So I thought it was very cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff here. And like I said, this episode was primarily focused on, at least the first half, Jubilee and Roberto. But even with that happening, Zach, Gambit is still taking L's. He can't leave an episode without taking an L from Magneto. He tries to get his girls some coffee. Magneto already got it. And he told him, listen, man, I'm the one putting orders in here. So what's going on with your man Gambit, who I thought was the Omega level mutant?
My man, I don't know. Gambit is getting absolutely no love. If you want to hate me for that X-Men tier list, hate the writers of X-Men '97 because this dude is getting zero.
He's getting zero, man. He's getting played out every single episode. It's getting hard to watch at this point, man. Me and Zach did do an X-Men tier list a few years ago that we
You don't
got
have to bring it up.
bashed for. I'm standing 10 toes down on this. We got bashed for not making Gambit one of the A+ players in our tier list. And hey, look at it. Even X-Men don't respect him. But, you know, the Raging Cajun, you know, maybe he'll get a shine at some other point. But going back to this episode, we have a Motendo on the board here. They get sucked into this world by Mojo. Going into that world, Zach, did you see him in prior comics or prior iterations of X-Men?
I did. I saw him in one of the video. I think it was the Genesis game that I played that he was in too. He was in X-Men, the animated series, and I didn't really read any of the comics that he was in. So I like when they put stuff like this in the into the shows because it gets you into what the character is about and it makes you want to find comics and go back and read the actual comics. So it's good.
That's my thing too. That's what the fun is. You have these cartoons, you can play with it. I felt like this was more of like a filler episode, but it's still packed it with so much stuff. Like as we'll get to the references and Easter eggs and some other things as well. Again, I didn't rewatch X-Men before this show starts. So there's some stuff I'm missing out on, but it was cool to see when Mojo interrupted. First of all, ugly character, very, very disturbing looking. I didn't want to look at the screen. I want to turn it off. But when he brought them into the world, he went straight to, I think it was Geneva or no, Genosha. That's where like they had the X-Men or the mutants kind of, working on that. That's the first episode, I think, what happened with the Sentinels.
Yeah, and that's going to lead into something too. We'll talk about during the Easter eggs, but we'll talk about it if you want to stick around to the end and get your comments in there. It's going to, in my opinion, tie into Deadpool. So we'll talk about that.
Hey, there was a few Deadpool references that we're definitely get to. But they get into this world, and Roy starting off with the Easter eggs here, and then the video game. I feel like the people animating this are having fun. It looks like they're taking a lot of liberties and really being creative with some of the stuff they're doing. And I love some of the references, the subtle things they're doing here. But as they get into this world here, Zach, it's like the first half of the episode.
Yeah.
What were some things that stood out to you? Were you on board with it?
I was on board with it knowing it was half an episode. I don't need everything to be referenced in what I watch. Like, I don't need everything to be set in the 90s and the 80s again. This did a lot of callbacks to probably my favorite video game of all time, the X-Men video game.
Yes.
And I had some good stuff in there. I just don't need hey, remember this? Hey, remember that? I just don't need that. So I think having this be a short episode and knowing that made me get into it more. Of course, you see kind of like the variants of her fighting Sentinels, kind of like you did in the X-Men arcade game by Konami, and it's cool. Again, the shorter version of this made this seem like what the X-Men animated series was, and it made it seem more like a Saturday morning cartoon rather than a connected universe episode of something that would be today's superhero genre.
Yeah, very well said. And I think I have to agree with that. Out of all the episodes we got so far, this definitely felt like the most Saturday morning cartoon. You get in there, wake up early, and it felt like a funner episode. Again,
Yeah.
besides my boy Gamma getting toasted up, cooked up by Magneto, it felt like a fun episode. I love that they did the arcade game as well, and like they went all with it, with the graphics, with everything. I thought it was really well done, and it didn't overstay its welcome. There was a part in the middle there. I was like, all right, I'm ready for this to end, and then it ended. And some of my favorite cartoons did this type of style where you tell two different distinct stories. I remember back in the day we had like some of like Avatar, Last Airbender did it as well with some of their mini stories, and that was some of their best episodes. Jimmy Neutron did it a few times, and now with this, splitting it off and having different feelings for like the lighter toned first half, getting to the second half with Storm, which is some really pretty some dark stuff there. So I thought it was very well done to juxtapose those two.
And just to tie it together too, like exactly what you said, they juxtapose each other, and they kind of had the same theme. Jubilee wants to live in the past and do some stuff, and then
That's a good
Rogue is
point.
kind of living in the past with her powers, which she should want back because she is like one of the most powerful mutants ever. But that's kind of like the tie right there.
Yeah, that's a great point actually. And I like the focus. I don't know how much more we can have with these episodes. It's very limited, I think, but I don't know how much more focus we can put on individual characters. But they did say when they were all at the breakfast, it's still weird seeing Magneto eat breakfast with the X-Men. But when they were all there, they mentioned Scott and Jean were off at the UN trying to get Genosha into the United Nations. So I want to
Yep.
see if we put some focus on them in another episode, and maybe that might be the second half. I would imagine since we had the part 2 of Storm's story, that'll be split for next week as well.
That we'll get to that. I got to slide for that because next week's episode I think is going to be not set in this time, so
Okay.
we'll talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff cooking for you, man. So we're getting to it. We're getting to it. Again, like I think it was just very well done so far. And yeah, some more video game graphics here with the guys, Roberto and Jubilee. Roberto is slowly starting to get out of his shell. I think he said he had a comment where he said something like, what was it? He'd rather tell his mom that he's a mutant to play video games or something crazy like that. Which I don't know how he compares the two. It was something ludicrous.
Yeah.
And then I love that Jubilee said it's very much like, listen, people that don't like video games are the ones that are bad at them.
That's a fair statement.
So the writing on this has been some good stuff in there, some good zingers in there.
Yeah. Phantom X is 7.5 out of 10. That's fair.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair. Sevens aren't bad scores. That's a good score.
Hey, I passed high school with worse.
You got to do what you got to do, man.
That's right.
So this character here, who I'm blanking on the name, we already
Spiral.
seen. Yeah, Spiral. Okay, perfect. So Spiral, we've seen reference to her with Morph in, I think, what was it, episode 2 of that 2-parter? I think he did it there. And now we're actually seeing the character here. Do you know some of the backstory with Spiral?
Not too much, but she was introduced as in Mojo's episodes in the original. So I like the continuity here, and I like that at the end she kind of was like freed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we'll see more of her, but again, small doses for some of these side characters because we don't need big backstories because already in the comics. Now we can go back and look at.
Exactly. And I'm enjoying that as well. I'm glad you brought up that she was the continuity from the previous show, which I think they hinted at in this one, where Mojo said he kind of killed off his like his workers because it wasn't doing well, and she's like the last survivor, I would imagine. This so now to see the full story now, her be free after this is really good too.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep let us know. Also, we'll get to Easter eggs later on in the review, but let us know what you guys might have saw. And then this is just like the battle right here, the player select. I love seeing here. I think who I see here. I think I've seen Colossus. Who we've seen again. Magic, I think, is in there as well.
Yes.
Who is there anyone else you've seen in there?
I think the one next to Magic is Havoc. I'm not sure, but the big one who's very partially next to that empty space is Cable.
Ooh,
and I think that plays into next week's episode because
that's very
Cable
good.
just got sent to the future with Bishop.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see what happens with them two because in the opening credits we're seeing like Bishop look like he get in some trouble. He looks like
Yeah.
that's going to the future might not have worked out as well. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to work out. There's so much story we can tell here, and I feel like we're still at the beginning of the story as well. There's not a lot that's fully happened as far as like developing, but we're still getting everyone like the groundwork done.
Yep.
And then of course I put this guy in here, man. This is one of the creepiest looking characters. I couldn't stand him, man. This dude is ugly. That is not a face a mama can love. But yeah, he got his comeuppance at the end of the episode.
Yeah, he did, and they made slight changes to him, different voice, and you could tell like it's so kind of 90s to do what he did in the animated series. So I'm glad they changed it up.
Yeah, definitely good on that part. And then this is another part I would ask. We'll get to it later on as well. But this was a future version of Jubilee. I liked the differences here with the costume. Playing the arcade game, was this character in there? Was that type of costume? Was that how Jubilee originally looked?
No, so she wasn't in. I don't think she was in any video games, to be
She just
honest.
came
I
for
think
the
she's
show, right? That's what I.
no, she was actually in early 90s. She was in a Wolverine issue in like 92, 93.
Okay.
So she's an actual character from the comics. What is it? Abscissa, I think. I can't remember what it is, but she's an actual character from the comics, from a Wolverine. I think 1 or 2 issues of Wolverine. So same costume, cool stuff. Yeah, I like that. It was a good, solid callback again, without doing a big storyline for Jubilee and all this other stuff. I like how they inserted her in here.
Yeah, definitely well
Ooh.
done there, and it helped the story and helped Jubilee get over like how she was feeling. Being nostalgic about how things were. Just a
That's
lot of
it.
character development right here.
Thank you,
Uh,
Mr. All Power.
Mr. All Power,
Okay.
Absica?
Yeah,
This?
Absicca. That's it.
Okay. I'll admit I'm not too familiar with this, so let me know in the comments. But Miss All Power says she has a dark story.
Dark story. I know the comics. The gear wasn't like super purple. I think it was just really dark too. So
Okay.
lighten it up for this episode, but I like it because now like Mr. All Power says who it is. We go look it up and we can go back and read these issues.
We know my boy Zach has an encyclopedia.
It stops at a certain, like around 2000, but
Oh man. But yeah, let us know if you guys have anything else here about this story. And Miss All Power, enlighten me on why it's a dark story for sure. And we see some of the powers get used here as they defeat Mojo. So yeah, good conclusion. Didn't last too long there for the first half of the episode. And then Jubilee getting her thing on right there. She turned 18, and I don't know what's going on. But Sunspot. And then now this part of the episode, second half, Zach, coming into it. How are you feeling about Forge and Aurora?
I like it. Kinda. So I didn't read Life Death. I didn't read those 2 issues. So if you did, let us know in the comics if it mirrors it pretty well. I think from what I understand, it does, even down to the overalls that she's wearing. You said I love you way too early, Forge. Like way too early.
Bro, they just met in the bar.
What the Forge? You can see things, you can piece things together, and like, come on, man. Secondly, if you can piece things together and you make yourself artificial, like leg and arm and stuff like that,
Yeah.
why are you still limping?
Ooh, that's a great point.
I'm just saying, well, maybe not the best. But I'm liking this. It's a good takeaway from what we just saw in the episode, and I think going lighter first and then into this made this kind of like an episode you can go back to. And if it was just the Jubilee stuff, full episode, I don't know if I would go back and rewatch.
Yeah, definitely would have, because it's good for the first time viewing. I don't think there's much rewatchability for me with that part. But So yeah, we're getting to this, man. So far, I knew there's something up with Forge, and then Storm is pretty much saying like, "Why are you trying so much to help me? What is it about?" And he just busts out the "I love you," like Zach said, and was like, "Bro, wait up,
Come
just
on.
fumbling. Like you gotta build you gotta build something up here, man. You can't just shoot for the end."
You
So
know, Mr. All Power, you know what he needs to cool off with? Some fans. I love you. Okay. Yeah, but this is a good storyline into him helping Storm.
yeah, so then they get on the horses, man. We see Storm finally like feel like herself again a bit when he challenges her. Like that's the best you could do, and she out races him with the horses, and feeling the wind, like she said, that meant so much to her. Then we get to the part where they get to like the little cliff, and we see Storm recognize the owl. So I kind of felt like it was going to be something to that, like the owl staying in that same position, staying that wasn't really traveling. She said this is the second or third time she's seen that owl. I didn't know what it was going to develop to, but I thought it meant something. Did you see anything foreshadowing the ending of this?
No, and I honestly, I don't know if it was by design or what, but it fooled me into not knowing if this was like a dream or what, because she left and then she crashed through, and I
Yeah.
don't know if they're in like some world or what. So if anybody knows from Life Death if this ties into that, yeah, it kind of had me fooled, and now I'm looking forward to more of episode 2 of this.
Yeah, I'm really am too, because not only did he fumble when he told her to the "I love you" for no reason, just out of the
Fumble that
blue.
outfit too.
It couldn't
Everything
even cook her dinner,
cut
nothing,
off
man.
everything. You need to cut off the damn ponytail, Forge.
Sheesh. Before we even get to that, this man admits to her that he's basically the reason she lost her powers. He put the blueprints he was using. He said he was broke, trying to get the sympathy. Said he had to work with the government. She said, "You can't trust the government. All people should know that." And
Right.
and then they took his schematics and made some of these weapons that would harm mutants. So immediately Storm's like, "F this." She slapped him. She hit him with that Stephanie McMahon slap and walked out.
Yeah, I know you're living alone, Forge, but I mean, get your mind together.
Not at all, man. I think this is kind of like some of my first seeing this guy like on the screen. And I don't like this character at all, man. I'm really not digging this character. He might be below Gambit for me, but his power is cool. Whatever he thinks of, he can make.
Needs to make some pants. Yeah, I'm pretty okay with Forge with like X Force and everything like that, or X Factor, excuse me, which we saw a picture of in there. But I'm not. I wasn't too big into X Force and X Factor, so I don't know the crux of his character.
Yeah. I remember seeing those things pop up and thinking it was cool. I was like, "Oh, we have the X-Men, so there's X Factor and all these other ones." I thought it was dope, but I never actually got to really fully dive into those stories.
Yeah. If you have any stories from X Factor or X Force, let us know, because X Force will probably come into play a little bit more here as the series goes on. But yeah, it was more just a straight up X Men and Uncanny X Men, and then the side issues of Wolverine, Gambit, and the Storm miniseries. So let us know in the comments if you got any picks for us.
Yeah, definitely let us know, man. So yeah, he exposes himself to Storm, not in that way, but in a terrible way. And then Storm storms out. But I thought she was gone. Well, before this, we'll rewind a bit. Before this, they try out his machine to get her powers back. Apparently, it doesn't work. I'm thinking there might be a delay to it. I think it might work now that she's in trouble. What do you think to that?
I think that could be. It's just hard to trust him, but
Yeah.
you just want to put a collar on a woman right away? Come on, man. What are we doing?
Yeah. Why is that there? First of all, what were we doing here? You didn't want to
So
pad.
and honestly, what the most bachelor kind of thing to make next to like hot dogs? You make chili, because chili just throw shit in a pot and you whatever. All right, Forge.
That's a hell of a point.
I don't know if you have the pictures in the Easter eggs, but we'll get to that. There was someone that was in there that helped make the collars. We'll talk about.
Well, let's get straight to it. This is the
right.
weekly Easter eggs. What did you find? Let's know in the comments as we'll get to it there. But as Zach was referencing, he had some pictures up in his pad. This man was out here cooking. He says it was the best pancake right there. We see some pictures. I'm curious. Well, first of all, what you're going to say, what you were referencing first, and then Also, that picture, first he's on the beach and he's blocking someone off in that other picture for his military picture. I wonder who that is.
I don't know. You love yourself to have a picture like that up in your place. He made bison chili. Okay, yeah, I know she liked it, but didn't read X Factor, but there you go. There's the X Factor picture up there, and I do actually want to buy that. I was gonna go get it this week actually because it's pretty cheap. So who he has blocked off, I had to look this up. His name is Bastion. I don't know if he's going to come into play later, but the one to the right of Forge that was in the shot when it panned out, I had to look up the name, Dr. Gottfried Adler. So he was in season 1. That's who Mystique turned into when she was working with Apocalypse.
Wow.
And he's the one that made the collars to control everyone. So Forge was apparently working with him on all this stuff. And who knows what else they made. But I don't know if that Bastion guy is coming back or if that's just a little Easter egg.
Okay, so then that means the person that stole his mechanics or his schematics didn't really steal it. He was working with them.
It seems to be that way.
So my boy just out here lying.
I can't with that picture. Like, seriously, you got your tinies riding high.
Oh,
whatever.
Yeah,
Where's Mystique? She might come back. Nah. Yeah, he can't get the storm. Can't catch a cool breeze.
Definitely. Catch everyone in the chat right now. And is there anyone else in that picture on the left that you do recognize?
These are just characters that were prominent on the covers of. When I went to the comic store in the 90s, these were always people that we saw on the cover, like Multiple Man and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm not too familiar with the characters. I always thought like they would be people that would get called up to the X-Men, which very, very, very rarely ever happened. They kind of kept a core like group and they just kind of swapped them out a little bit, kind of like the Justice League. But yeah, I always expected like X-Force and X-Factor to be more like how NXT is now. But it
I was
wasn't.
just thinking that as you were saying that. Like, was this like their NXT thing?
Yeah. That's a good question. How does he know Professor X? That is a good question.
In the comics, was there ever a connection like yeah, I don't know. Definitely let us know that. Again, I like X-Men, but about knowing everything, about the complete expert on X-Men. But that is a good question. Let us know. Maybe Newman Co. if you're out there, maybe you might know.
Yeah, we want to find it Life Death from 1986, 87. If you want to look it up and read it, I know there's tons of sites you can just go on right now and check it out. But if you do read it, leave comments and let us know if we should check it out too.
Yeah, definitely let us know. And there's so much stuff when I watch this, so keep an eye out for. I'm really appreciating that. And one thing you got to keep an eye out for that was mentioned by Mojo. You already know. You already know. Had a little glitch there, but you already know. Taylor. I'm bringing it up because Mojo said originally Jubilee wasn't his first pick. He tried to get Dazzler, but she was already booked. In the comics, Dazzler becomes, a huge pop star. She's not out here trying to do a superhero life. She's trying to make money. She's like our other co-host, Eric. She's just all about the money. So when he says she was booked, do you think that's an Easter egg, a reference for her being booked in Deadpool? Like she's already doing that. You think we're having some type of, not a crossover here, some type of hint in X-Men 97 for Deadpool coming out later this summer with the heavily rumored Taylor Swift?
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
See,
but then again, this was supposed to come out like a year and a half ago. So
there's a reason behind it, man.
Yeah, because you want to talk about Taylor Swift again. But I don't know. This was supposed to come out like a while ago, so I don't know if they changed the writing for that. That's a really cool Easter egg if it is. But Dazzler, if you remember, if you played the X-Men arcade game, 6 players, one of them was Dazzler. So maybe they just didn't want to use her or something. But that's a good catch, though.
Yeah, so I'm very curious about that. I had to find the matching pictures. It just says it all right there. So if Taylor Swift is in Deadpool and this actually was a reference for that, you heard it here first on the West Coast Pop.
Mr. Allpower, I love Dazzler's end thing, but yeah, she had the short reach, so she was very tough to use. Even like she had the small punches and then the kicks that kind of helped. But man, she was tough to use. But her thing, she'd throw like this little, like she does with the little flares, she'd throw like this flare bomb and it just kind of go off. It was a good special power to use, but she's tough to use. And Jubilee versus Dazzler, who wins?
I know more about Jubilee. I got to go with Jubilee.
If it's If it's Vampire Jubilee, I'm going Dazzler.
Oh. And we're gonna get hate for this either way.
Yeah.
How did you not know Dazzler could do this and this? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh man, but let us know if you had some more Easter eggs. I found a few more here. So we had that one. Oh, then this one popped me.
Yeah.
They used the X-Men. They did a different world with the X-Men. So I thought it was kind of cool, and you could see like who's gonna be who. So this is a very cool little thing here. Definitely one of my favorite shows from the '90s as well. It was a hot time during the '90s with a different world, the Martin shows, A Living Single, all those type of shows. So I thought it was a really cool reference they put in here. They also had some other references that they had Jean Grey versus Summers for the custody of like their child.
Divorce court. It was divorce court.
Yeah, divorce court in there. So some cool stuff they did there. So I like the references.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't even look at that one.
And then this one we kind of talked about here with again, I'm gonna butcher her name. I know it starts with an A. Aviska.
Absica? I can't remember.
Absica.
I can't. Mr. Allpower, you can hit us up again. Easter egg about her. This is the original Jubilee voice actress.
Oh, okay. I like that.
And I knew this when the movie came out. I don't know if it was on the DVD or if someone told me when I went to see the movie in the theater. But in X2, she is the tour guide in the museum.
I gotta tell him. Okay, I like stuff like that, man.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the dialogue she used, like I've lived your life or I've seen you, whatever. That's kind of cool because she used to be Jubilee, and it just very very good wording with everything.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very good one. I'm glad you had that one for us.
Mr. Allpower, if you watch the commercials that Disney's putting on regular TV, you see him in there, so he'll be around. We just don't know when or how.
Then this one you put up here. This is a Easter egg Zach found.
All right. I knew there's something weird about how he said it. And then I did see on another site. I want to give him credit. The guy with the Voss guy, I forgot his name, and I forgot the Eric Voss. I can't remember. White dude, short hair, a little bit of facial.
I don't know.
But anyways, the way he said pivot, he had to pivot to do video games rather than television. Okay. I thought that was a nice touch on like today's stuff with even like Netflix is going to that. The dude said too, which is smart. But it was from the 90s. It was that episode where they moved the couch and Ross kept saying pivot. So he said pivot to mirror that from a 90s episode. That was kind of a big thing.
Damn, I did not catch that. That's a good catch. And I just seen that episode recently, actually. Rocio was playing it.
We were on a break. I can't fucking stand that character. Man, if we do a tier list of worst characters of all time, he's right up there.
Ooh, yeah. Put him in there with what's that dude from Recess? Randall, the snitch. Put him in there. There's a lot of guys who can do that. We might have to get that out for you guys.
I want to do that. Buffy's sister, Angel's son.
I'm sure. Yeah, if we get going, we're gonna have it for you guys.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
All the Full House kids, fuck them.
Wow.
Oh, fuck.
They're gonna kick you off the internet, man.
Go ahead. We rewatched that whole series. We started the pandemic, and holy crap! Oh, holy crap! Anyways,
back on to the next reference Easter egg.
All right, in the console that is in Jubilee's room, there is a mashup of these two games here, the X-Men game for Genesis and X-Men Mutant Apocalypse with Apocalypse in the background. So that was what the video game is based on. Mutant Apocalypse is really fun. He's played that one.
Yeah, and it's the original Nintendo, not Botendo.
No. Yeah, a good 16-bit game right there.
X-Men got some heat, man. They really do.
Yeah, another fun one is Arcade's Revenge with Spider-Man and the X-Men. So if you're looking for a fun game.
Nice. On to the other Easter breakdown. I'm glad Zach added this one.
Let's start at the top. So we knew the beginning was different when you saw the Marvel animation and the guitar riff was different. It was its own separate music, and then the theme kicked in. So then there's a ton of Easter eggs. So you're going to have to hit up the chats here in the comments if you know more. But Jean Grey, her hair was not in a ponytail before. Now it is. Now it was like the actual 90s cartoon. So that basically said in all the other episodes, it was a clone.
Mm-hmm. I
So
love that we have to pay attention to the opening, man. I really do.
I do too. And they're doing foreshadowing to the future stuff too. Not the future, but like future episodes to kind of make you like, oh, instead of doing like next time on X-Men. So I like that. Storm was absent. Her card was gone, which, she left the X-Men, so she's not
Yeah.
a part of it. Jubilee, the scene with Jubilee up in the top right, that is a recreation of what she did with Mojo in the 90s series. Another recreation scene was the bottom left with Wolverine and Polaris. I forgot the name. X Factor people there and Forge in the background.
Oh yeah.
And then Jean trying to find, Professor X trying to find Jean, and then the White Queen stopping. That was also done that's a recreation too from the 90s. And there's another one too. I can't remember, but if you found any, hit up the comments and let us know.
Is that the Hellfire Club there in the bottom right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I remember that episode. That was a good ass episode.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're foreshadowing or they just did this for the intros. And like you said, now we need to pay attention to the intros and all these little details that they put in just makes the show so much richer.
Yeah.
Mr. Allpower's favorite cartoon in 10 years. I might agree with you there, Mr. Allpower.
It's definitely up there. I won't see how it finishes, but it's definitely up there. They said already completed like writing season 3.
Yeah.
So like hopefully it's be coming out pretty quickly. And then let's see if we can get to the last one here. Oh yeah, that's all Easter eggs here. But we have a few more episodes coming out here. This will all end on May 15th, part 3 of this, man. 3 parts, man. That's gonna be a hell of an arc.
It is. So here's more Easter egg stuff that I think they're doing. I'll try to go through this really quickly. Remember it. That's a line that Gambit says when in the first episode, maybe I think, when he tells someone his name. The name's Gambit. Remember it. But I think Remember It is gonna go and be the future storytelling with Bishop, Cable, and whatnot. So the scene where you see Bishop traveling through time, I think that's going to happen next week. And Remember It is going to be a future episode. And then the last 3 episodes, I don't know if they're going to go into the Krakoa storyline that Robert Kirkman did recently. I don't know if they're going to go that deep into the comic lore already, but they could. That's what it might go into. But I think this is where it's going to tie into Cassandra Nova. It is Charles Xavier's sister, who looks exactly like him. This is the villain in Deadpool. So I think this is a way to lead in so you don't have to do a bunch of backstory in Deadpool to get fans familiar. Because like we said, you can do all this stuff in a cartoon, you can cut it down and not make full episodes to introduce these people. And I think that's a nice way to do it, to give Deadpool some breathing room and get more action in there. But I do believe they're doing that, and she's making stuff out of an old master mold, which is why they talked about the master molds in the beginning. So we'll see, but I think that's what's coming.
That's going to be insane. I've yet to see them use Professor X's sister in anything. So that'll be really cool to finally get to like, I love seeing the progression of the comics on stories, like whether cartoons or movies. So I'm glad we're moving the storyline ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be really cool stuff there. And then so is it comic like accurate that it's still, so it's Professor X, he has his sister Cassandra Nova, and then Juggernaut?
Yeah, I think someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Cassandra Nova was created like later. You know how they always like, oh, by the way, they have a twin. Yeah, right. But yeah, she looks just like him. That we saw in the Deadpool trailer, the back shot of her head, and she's looking out at people that might be followers or whatever. So she is a powerful person in the X-Men lore. So get ready for her in live action, and I'm pretty sure they referenced something about her in either I can't remember. I think in one of these episodes. So we'll get her.
Yeah, that's gonna be some good stuff, man. Should be hopefully a bounce back year for Marvel. Definitely enjoying X-Men 97. If you want to give it a rating out of 5, Zach, what would you give it for this episode?
You know what? I will also give it a 7.5 out of 5. Again, tons of references and hey, remember the 90s and all that kind of stuff in there with the Jubilee stuff, but I thought they handled it very well and they were very smart making that into a half episode with the heavier stuff leading into the second part of Life Death that's coming in 2 weeks. So I do like it, and it makes it more rewatchable by them doing
It
that.
does. And we don't really talk too much about that villain at the end there. That villain was creepy, man. Whoever animated that actually got me, even in adulthood. Like, that was pretty scary to look.
Yeah, they're gonna adjust it to whatever they're going to do. If you want to go back and look at the original stuff with Forge, who summoned that creature to sacrifice old X-Men, like 9 of them, I think it said.
Fuck this guy, man. Come on, this is insane.
Hey, baby, can I borrow your car? Can I borrow some cash? I don't know about Forge, man. Sacrificing people, get them killed. I love you on like the second day, like.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it is Storm's voice that is voicing the character, the bird. So we'll see if it's a figment of the mind or if it is an actual thing, or so we'll see.
Okay. So yeah, definitely let us know what you guys thought, man. Zach gave it a 7.5 out of 10 as well. I'm gonna go with a 7. I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10. Still very solid, but I'm ready to get back on track with the main arc of the stories and see what's going on, and almost see what happens to Storm later on. That's what really carried it. So hopefully we get there. We'll be back next week. X-Men reviews are now on Thursday, so keep an eye out for us going live on Thursdays around 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern if you're in the East Coast. But from your boys at the West Coast Pop, Main Man Zach, Final Boss Knock, we'll see you next week for X-Men. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.